What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. It's been a minute, but I wanted to come through and just give my thoughts and opinions about this situation involving Meek Mill, his latest album cover, or the cover for his latest album, and the image of phenotypically black women. So, you guys probably already know Meek Mill released his art cover for his album, and pretty much it shows some imagery of black women, phenotypically monoracial, black from a distance, brown skin, dark skin, black women in some very sexualized positions. And some people, particularly some black women, especially some black women, called foul and said, hey, they don't appreciate this album cover because it makes black women look bad, right? It's not a good look for black women as a collective. It's very sexualized. Too sexualized to the point where it's like obscene, right? And I know that some people are going to come through and make an argument about, oh, it's art. And this argument has been taken to court many a time. And basically, for me personally, just because something involves nudity doesn't necessarily mean that it's like obscene or that it's lewd or, pornographic or something like that. Not necessarily, right? Of course, you're crossing that line once you start talking about nudity, of course. But I will say that there are some legitimate pieces of art that do involve nudity or feature nudity that I wouldn't think that I would not view as being obscene or lewd or pornographic. But the thing is, though, it's like, where is the law? Where is the line in the sand drawn? Like, where do we draw the line at, right? And for me, I think people typically, at least maybe when it comes to like the law, they draw the line when the artwork becomes obscene. And in this situation, it's arguably obscene because of the positions that the black women are in and it being very sexual. One black woman, bending over and busting it open, and then there was another black woman like on the pole, like had her back to the pole, And unfortunately, if you really think about this, this isn't really anything new. I mean, when it comes to like rap music and black men involving black women in their degeneracy within rap music, this isn't nothing new. This been going on for a while, right? And both black men and black women participate and help perpetuating it. So there's definitely blame to go around, but in this video I'm more so going to concentrate on Meek Mill, right? And also some people are going to come through and be like, well, a black woman created the art piece. She sure did, so it's really a black woman's fault. The whole entire black woman collective, they sure did. She sure did. It ain't no black man's fault, even though a black man commission the artwork and pay for the artwork and feature the artwork. It ain't the black man's fault. It's the black woman's fault. It sure is. I know some people are going to make that argument, right? And say, well, since this black woman who created it, or rather a black woman created the art, the art that people are complaining about, so go to her. And she does have some blame in this too. She does. She was a part of the the degeneracy as well, right? And the disparagement of the black woman's image in the media. And she is like a brown skinned black woman. You know, she's a part of the XYZ community. And I think for her, it may not have been a big of a deal because she may not even see herself as being like, you know, a typical black woman, if you know, catch my drift. And probably has more so of a black men's mentality when it comes to black women, considering that, you know, when it comes to her sexual orientation, right? And as well, honestly, when it comes to the black woman's image, whether they're a part of the XYZ community or not, when it comes to black women, sometimes some black women will, like, no matter what walk of life they come from, will participate in, um, you know, bringing down the black woman's public image. That's just a thing, unfortunately. Just as some black men will participate in bringing down the black men's public image. But the thing is, when a black man's public image, just like some, you know, insurance, right? There's some people who will advocate for it and help defend. It's another story, though. But the argument, you know, of art versus obscenity, you know, that's an interesting argument. But for me, I personally would classify this as being obscene at this point, right? If it wasn't, if it was just a black woman being nude on the cover, but not being sexual with it, then I would say, okay, it's art. It may not be art that I may like, but hey, it's art, right? And it can still be considered art in a sense, but at this point, it's crossed the line to obscenity, so it can be considered perhaps like lewd, right? And there were some people who, some black women who brought up the fact that, hey, why aren't the preferences on this album cover? Which is, you know, an interesting thing to point out, considering that the preferences are always in like the music video. You can't turn on and look at a music video without seeing you know, the preferences all around and sprinkled in throughout the music video. And that's their choice. You know, they're allowed to like what they like, and they're even allowed to promote and push what they want. Ultimately, you know, it's their platform, right? But why now do you decide to acknowledge, you know, the phenotypically black woman, you know, the black woman with this more or less the same phenotype as you, Meek Mill? Now all of a sudden you are putting out this image. But to be fair, I'm not really familiar with, you know, like Meek Mill's music video, so maybe he does actually feature brown skin and dark skin black women like a lot through his music video, and it was just overflowed into his art cover, you know, for his album. So, you know, I'll put a disclaimer out there for that, because I know somebody won't come through and they feelings and be like, you better leave Meek Mill alone. You better let him go home, all right? Let him come home. And that he ain't do nothing wrong, all right? And when it comes to the preferences, people are saying, like, as well, bringing up the conversation and the argument about colorism, where it's like, hey, why aren't the preferences being, you know, preferred in this art piece that you got, you know, versus the brown skin, dark skin sisters, right? Why, you know, don't the women featured in this artwork, you know, this cover art for your album, reflect the women who you like in real life, right? And women who you feature in your videos in real life, perhaps. And, you know, I think that's the thing, though, when it comes to colorism, though. Because, and I know if you're watching my videos and, you know, familiar with my channel, chances are that you probably are at least somewhat versed in colorism. So what I'm about to say probably wouldn't you probably already know, but you may need to be reminded, right? And that is colorism is more than just who dates who, right? And I think we all know that, right? It's more than just who dates who. That's a part of it, but it's much more to it than that. And one of these things that it features is thinking and portraying darker skinned black women in situations like this, right? Because it's like, well, we need these black women to be real sexual. You know, basically, perhaps on a subconscious level, or maybe they're even conscious of it, but I'll say it's subconscious perhaps. When they think of something that is perhaps negative, they'll think of brown skin or dark skin black women, like for some reason that'll come into their mind. And if you are a brown skin, dark skin black woman and you're looking at this video, please don't take that to heart, because it's not because of who you are that they think that way. It's because of who they are, and that's just the way that they think. That's just what they place value in, because they're just so far gone. And as quiet as it's kept, they kind of even low-key think that about themselves. It's just that, they know that self-hate ain't a good look. So they'll try and mask it, right? They'll try and work around it, play it off, do black flips, bend over backwards and do the matrix, all that stuff to get around having to acknowledge that. Right. And also, some people brought up some video of some, very annoying, irate Caucasian gentleman yelling and screaming and just straight up, having a straight up hissy fit about this album cover being featured on what I heard public buses. People were saying that it was tour buses, but they're like, no. Other people were saying, no, these are like, public buses people use for transportation, like transit, public transit. And the thing is, that dude can just go have a seat somewhere as far as I'm concerned. And the reason why that is for me, because ultimately I didn't feel like it was coming from a good place. That's the thing. I didn't get that feeling. Now, if it really was coming from a good place and he really just was, truly concerned about the black woman's image and all that good stuff, then I'd be like, clap, clap, you can get a cookie. But no, it wasn't like that, though. I just didn't get that vibe. I could be wrong, but I just didn't get that vibe from it. I got the vibe was just more like, I'm disgruntled because I don't like seeing this art cover, in my neighborhood, which is a legitimate complaint. Don't get me wrong, but leave black women out of your complaints and go for Meek Mill and the city bus service that put this artwork on their local city buses. Like, I didn't see him address the transit system one time, I don't think. Maybe, did he? I don't know. If he did, let me know. I didn't watch his rant in its entirety. Disclaimer there. Because, one, I just wasn't really, in the mood to hear some irate white man kind of speak low-key, subtle racism in a very irate voice. And also because I just didn't feel like watching it either. Because at the end of the day, like, who is he? Who is he? Now, if he was some celebrity, some white male celebrity, then perhaps we could, be like, okay, he kind of important. He kind of got a point. Well, you can have a point and still not, not be important, but have a point. But basically, he need to take that smoke to Meek Mill and the city bus service, not the black women. Because I feel like his smoke was like directed at black women because, folks know that black women are an easy target, unfortunately. You know, you know. I think Malcolm X already addressed this back in the 60s. All right. So at this point, it's just like, okay, what can we do? All right, we've been acknowledged that now. What can we do? What's the next step? You know. Um, but a question though: do you think that if the album cover featured the preferences, do you think that like brown skin and dark skinned black women, do you think they would be offended by that and be like, hey, where the sisters at? Where the chocolate sisters at? Right? Do you think that? I don't know. Part of the reason why I asked that is because I remember a little while ago, Yo Gotti and DaBaby did a music video where it was kind of more so mostly preferences. It may have been like maybe one, maybe two brown skin, dark skin sisters in the music video, but mostly preferences. And some black women were cool with that because they felt like, hey, that music video was very, lewd and obscene, and it didn't portray women in a good light. So, hey, wonderful that we ain't featured in that music video. We got enough problems, right? But then there were actually a group of black women who were like, hey, where the sisters at? Where the chocolate sisters at, right? And that just got me to thinking, if the preferences were featured, then would we be calling Meek Mill like, oh, you're a colorist? Like technically, either way, he might not be able to win. At least in this case, it would have to be him cleaning up the artwork and making it more artistic versus obscene or lewd, and featuring brown skin and dark skin black women. Like, and then might be accused of pandering at that point too. Like, oh, you just pandering. You don't like no child something like that. Nah, you go look at he dated Nicki Minaj. Nah, right, right. Oh yeah, let me jump back to that irate white man right quick. There was some black women in the on the YouTube community, tabs and comment sections and whatnot, low key and high key co-signing this irate white dude. And I'm like, I mean, the question that he posed actually was a valid question as far as, black women, do you want this promotion more or less, right? You want this as your image or whatever. But I kind of just think that the black women should just have been, just silent about that part. But, I understand because he is saying your name. And when someone's saying your name, you do have a right to, you know, reply back. Whether it's just a clap back or just, hey, let me just tell you what I think about this, right? But I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. Some of the black women co-signing might be on some low-key bed wench type stuff. And, I really don't throw that word around a lot, you know. I actually tend to actually defend the women who would be classified and considered bed wenches more so. But let's be real, there are some legitimate bed wenches out there, at least some, a segment, right? Who really would just be like, whatever, white daddy, you can say whatever you want. I don't care if you call me the N-word. I don't care if you call my mom and dad, porch monkeys and stuff. I don't care if you voted for Donald Trump twice. I don't care, right? So basically what I'm just getting at is, be careful about the folks you be supporting. Because it is what you support and who you support is a reflection on you. All right. But that's all I gotta say for the moment, though. Thanks for watching this video. Let me know what you think about this situation in the comments section. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.